Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to my new podcast, Hands Down, where the hands might be off, but the microphone is definitely turned on. I'm your host, Javid Dordell, and the reason I created this podcast was I've always been an avid sports fan. I've always wanted to talk sports. I've always wanted to share my opinions, predictions, reactions, and I've had a dream of doing it about the past 4 years. And I've always told myself I don't have the right equipment, I don't have the right audience, but ultimately it came down to me just having the fear of the unknown and actually doing it. So I told myself as kind of a goal in 2025, and yes, I know we're in March, late goal, but let me go on with my life. That I'm never gonna know until I try. So I came up with Hands Down the podcast to just kind of have some of my longer form videos here on YouTube. This is where I'm going to have weekly episodes, most likely dropping on Mondays, and it's going to be topics for the week, mainly including basketball, football, baseball related, reactions, predictions, just kind of my general thought of it. And later on down the road, I would definitely love to have some guests on the show. So if you guys know of anybody or know of anybody you'd like me to collab with future on down in the road, please let me know. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself as this only is my first episode. But that's a little bit about me. I would like to dive right in. Today we've got a crazy agenda popping up. In this episode, we're going to talk about the NBA trade deadline, including the trades that have happened. Luka Doncic is a Los Angeles Laker. Get more into details on that. De'Aaron Fox is a San Antonio Spur. Look at those trade details. What's going on with Jimmy Butler? Is he going to stay in Miami and continue to get suspended? Is he going to Golden State? Is he going to Memphis? Is he going to Phoenix? Who knows? We're going to dive into that. And then we are actually going to shift gears a little bit. As you guys know, the Super Bowl is on February 9th. We have the Kansas City Chiefs and the going for a three-peat against the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll get into a little bit about that. My Super Bowl predictions as well. But before I get into that, do want to look at the Pro Bowl a little bit. The Pro Bowl just happened. Talked a little bit about Pro Bowl. Is it going away? Should we go away from the Pro Bowl? And of course, the news that broke early this morning, Myles Garrett, right end for the Cleveland Browns, has requested a trade. So those will be our topics for this week. Like I said, these will be weekly agendas. If you guys have interesting topics you would like me to talk about, please drop them in the comments below, and I will do my best to discuss that topic. But that being said, let's dive right into what broke the internet, quite frankly, and that is Shams. I still think he partially got hacked and he is just playing it off, but Nico Harrison already came out and had a press conference with Jay Kidd. Luka's already arrived in LA doing his, I can't do it because I don't got hands, but he's doing the LA thing already. It's as real as it could be. But yeah, Luka Doncic is a Los Angeles Laker. I talked a little bit about this on my TikTok. By the way, if you're not following me on TikTok, I have a TikTok as well. On my TikTok, I will be posting short film content, initial reactions, thoughts, kind of anything in between that 1 to 9 minute realm, probably closer to that 3 to 5, honestly. Just kind of shorter film reactions, opinions, just giving you guys my thoughts on that. And then, like I said, YouTube's going to be that weekly everything in the bowl type kind of shit, So, like I said, Luka Doncic is a Los Angeles Laker, and I talked about this, like I said, a little bit about on my TikTok. I'm still bamboozled by this trade. Obviously, the Lakers won this trade. There's no ifs, whats, or buts about it. You trade your aging superstar who's about to turn 32 for Luka Doncic, who, by the way, just led the Dallas Mavericks to the finals last year, who also has been All-NBA 5 times in his career. He would have been an All-Star this year, but he's been injured. He is a literal walking triple-double. If we want to get statistical, it's 34, 9, and 10, but come on, let's give him the extra board assist. And yeah, I was reading an article today how LA, you get Wilt back in the early 60s, 70s, you get Wilt the Steal, you get Kareem, You get Magic, you draft James Worthy, you get Shaq, you get Kobe, all via trades and signings, by the way. And then Bron comes in, and now the next face of the franchise is Luka Doncic. Absolutely phenomenal work by Rob Pelinka, the GM over there. I will give my hats off to Rob, but he still has work to do. I will say that. Quite frankly, in his tenure as a GM with Bron being there, they turned Kyle Kuzma, they turned Julius Randle, they turned Lonzo Ball into Anthony Davis, and they got them that 20 championship. That was good. You built a team to compete. But since their 2020 championship, they've just kind of been afloat. Obviously, James missed the playoffs that one year. They've obviously continued to build a team around LeBron, but it's never been structured to that championship roster that they had in 2020. Everybody said it. Anthony Davis has said it himself. The reason they won that year is because he got to play his natural position, which is a forward. They brought in Dwight Howard, aging Dwight Howard, don't get me wrong, but nonetheless they brought in a Dwight Howard and a JaVale McGee, and it allowed him to be at his natural position. The Lakers arguably played their best basketball. James got to play his natural position at a 3. He didn't really have to play that 1 or 4. And it worked out for him. And then each year goes by, and they kept trying AD at the 5. They kept putting Bron at the 4. They didn't have a solid facilitator. And quite frankly, I mean, yes, Bron's a facilitator, but you don't really still have a facilitator. You had D'Angelo, but he's I mean, we saw him shipped off. He wasn't what the Lakers wanted. So while the Lakers did win this trade, you also are losing a lot of rim protection, and until Luka is back, Bron's going to have to play hero ball. Bron is 40. How long can Bron play hero ball? I will say, Luka looked, he was eyeballing a return before the All-Star break, so arguably he could be back in a week, maybe 2 weeks. Bron only has to play hero ball for a week, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But, I mean, the Lakers, they're sitting 5th, 6th in the conference right now. Are they going to catch up to OKC? I don't know. Without a center, damn sure not going to catch up to OKC. But, at the same time, if you're Rob Pelinka, you only traded 1 first-round pick to get Luka Doncic. Yes. In a world where Rudy Gobert got traded for 5, can't tell, but I'm holding 5 fingers up. 5 first-round picks. Donovan Mitchell got traded for 4. In a world that Kevin Durant got traded for the equivalent of 7. Mikal Bridges just this offseason before the season started got traded for 5. Heck, I mean, we'll get into it later, but De'Aaron Fox got traded for 3. And you're telling me, which I would take Luka Doncic over any of those players today. Don't get me wrong. Kevin Durant, greatest scorer of all time. Yep, I said it. Come at me. Greatest scorer of all time. I would start a franchise with Luka Doncic, and you got him for 1 first-round pick. So hats off, like I said, to Rob Pelinka, but you gotta call up some other GMs and maybe do another fleece like you did to Nico Harrison. But you got 1 more first-round pick to work with. You maybe can trade your salary of Gabe Vincent. I don't really know what LA's wanting to do with Gabe. Is he the man? Is he not the man? He's had some injuries. What do they want to keep him? Do they want to go on from him? Rui has been good. Jared Vanderbilt just came back. Maybe you trust Jared Vanderbilt to run that 4, a little bit of the 3. His side's a little iffy. I don't know if you want him at that 3, but he can give you some bench minutes. Does that make Hachimura expendable? He's got a good enough contract. It's about 15 M's that you can trade away. Personally, if I'm Pelinka, I'm calling up the Bulls because they have a center by the name of Nikola Vucevic. You trade Hachimura, maybe get a 3 team with the Hawks because the Hawks are going to need some wing depth with Jalen Johnson being out for the year. DeAndre Hunter's been better, obviously, off the bench. I wouldn't want to bring him back into the starting lineup, so maybe you form a 3-team trade around that. As for how that 3-team trade looks, I couldn't tell you because if I'm the Bulls, I'm not I mean, you getting one first round pick for Roos, that's solid, but Roos has been playing pretty decent. You just traded Zach LaVine and practically only got one pick back. He's aging. Are you going to get more than a pick? Maybe not. Maybe you take the value while it's there. Maybe you shop him around, see what else you can get. But, I mean, you've been shopping him around for this is the second deadline. Maybe take it is why it's there. If I'm the Lakers, though, I'd jump on that. You need another big. I'm sorry. Jackson Hayes is good, but he's not protecting that rim for 48 minutes a game. Heck, not even 40 minutes a game. Heck, I wouldn't even say 30 minutes a game. He can give you some solid bench minutes, solid 20, 25 minutes a game, but Jackson Hayes is not the center of your future. Jackson Hayes should not be the center on a championship-bound team. I just don't see the value there. Coming off the bench, love the value. Starting, hate the value. So if I'm LA, great, you got Luka. Depending on what Bron does this next year, if he decides to retire, if he decides to run it back, who knows? You got your franchise player. Thank you, Dallas, to lead this franchise for who knows how long. On Dallas's side of things, I don't know what Dallas is thinking. I've had about 2 days to read a lot of articles, to listen to some press conferences, to try to understand what Nico Harrison, the GM over in Dallas, was doing. And the first thing I'll say is Mark Cuban has got to be in shambles right now. And I mean, he came out and he said it himself. He's very confused by the move that Dallas is doing. If Mark Cuban still had as much ownership as he had in the past, this trade never goes through, in my opinion. But I mean, he's not. It did, so here we are. Dallas, they came out and they said two things, essentially, to back up this trade. A, defense wins championships game. We knew Luka obviously doesn't play that much defense. He's a liable defensive player. But do you really trade your franchise player because you're worried about defense? That's like saying 2 + 2 is 16. It just doesn't add up to me. The second is kind of going on into that is the conditioning with Luka Doncic. He's only played, I think, about 22 games this year. He's been out for a minute. You're maybe concerned about giving him the Supermax, which, by the way, he was on, and he was going to sign that Supermax. There's no if, whats, or buts about it. Luka Doncic was going to sign that Supermax contract. I guess what Nico Harrison was saying is, do I want to pay $346 million? Yes, that's right, $346 million to a guy who's going to be a defensive liability. Nico Harrison, when he is a walking triple-double, when he just led your team to the NBA Finals, when he has been All-NBA 5 years. First team, by the way. That's not just All-NBA. That's All-NBA first team. Yes, you pay the man $346 million. But, I mean, I'm just a guy who talks sports, so what do I know? So, I guess you don't pay him that. I will say, fun fact, Luka's gonna have a big chip on his shoulder because now that he got traded, he's not eligible to sign that Supermax, which, like I said, was $346 million. You can sign one with the Lakers, but it's only, and I say only, it's still a lot of money, but only for Luka, $229 million. It's $115 million because he got traded that he is missing out on. Homeboy is going to be on a revenge tour. Homeboy's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Mark your calendar. Even this year, heck, for when Luka comes back to Dallas, when Dallas goes to LA. Mark your calendars for years to come, though. Grab your popcorn. Those are going to be fun games. Nico Harrison, though, I'm still, even with he came out in the press conference and he said when he talked to the owner of the Mavericks about it, he laughed at him. Like not but like laughed at, trading Luka Doncic. Like, you're kidding, right? No, he wasn't kidding. But, like, you're gonna have the owner of the team, which I get it. Ultimately, it came down to the owner. He had to sign off on it. Nico Harrison made the decision. He still had to sign off on it. And you agree with him. You're going to judge him by that. But you trade Luka Doncic. Well, he was 25 years old, by the way. I don't know if you still realize that. He's 25 years old. And you don't shop him around. You only call one person, which is Rob Pelinka. And you say, I only want Anthony Davis, who's an aging superstar who's about to turn 32. Like, that's more complicated than a relationship. Let's be honest. Sorry, not sorry, but like, my opinions on that is either A, the conditioning of Luka is far more fetched than we think it is, and Dallas does not believe that Luka is going to be a healthy player throughout the year, kind of like a Joel Embiid type shit. He's not going to be able to play back-to-backs. But, I mean, if you're putting up those numbers of 34, 10 and 9, 28, 10 and 10 across your career, that's a risk you take, right? I guess not. So, if there's something more with that conditioning that we don't know about, maybe his injury is going to last a little bit longer. Maybe he's going to have ongoing injuries. And just making sure there's no other breaking news. Got to make sure it's MLB related. So it's an umpire. No big deal. But I'm just bamboozled that you wake up and you tell yourself, because that's the other thing. Nico Harrison called Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka didn't call Nico Harrison and said, hey, I want Luka. No. Nico Harrison woke up and he's like, yo, Rob, hey, I want Anthony Davis. I'll give you Luka. Like, there's art alleged. Luka didn't request a trade. He's been shocked. He's kind of was caught as off guard as all of us were with but the trade. There's got to be something more down with his conditioning that you can tell yourself, I don't want to pay this man $346 million because of his conditioning. I guess I get, like Nico Harrison said, only time will tell on how we can judge that, but he was very contradicting in what he said, because he said he wants to win now, and he said this is the best move they could have made to win now. My two complaints with that is, A, you had a 25-year-old mega superstar who was helping you win, who, by the way, just led you to the NBA Finals, who you lost to arguably one of the greatest orchestrated teams in Boston. Yes, I said it. But he just led you to the Finals, and you said, you pulled a Minnesota Timberwolves basically with Kaz, said, nah, I'm good, I'm Gucci, give me someone different. Get me an aging 32-year-old star. I'll give you it. He's a star. I wouldn't say superstar anymore, but he's a star who's just as, if not more, injury riddled, but at least he can protect the rim. Okay, I'm shocked. I understand defense wins championships games and you want to win now, but you had a person who gave you the best chance to win now, and now you don't. The second thing I'll say is, you don't shop him around. You say, I only want Anthony Davis. You only call Rob Pelinka. You're telling me there could have not been a better trade package out there? Heck, if you call Brooklyn's phone, they'll give you all their first-round picks for the next 10 years. If you call OKC's phone, OKC has got 17 first-round picks. Okay, I don't see him obviously going to OKC, but if you want first-round picks, OKC's got 17 of them things. You call Miami. Miami's got some first-round picks. You call Boston. Boston can make this cap work. You call... And you don't call anybody. There's so many... I get it, maybe you don't get that Anthony Davis type player out of it, but you can get so much more capital for trading your franchise player. I will continue to say it, I am bamboozled. on the bright side, I will say this for Dallas. Competitive roster, when healthy, looks damn near good on paper. You get Kyrie going back to his natural position at the 1. Clay gets to go back to his natural position at the 2. You run Hugh Grimes at the 3. I've said it on my TikTok. I don't know how Washington's going to feel about coming off the bench. Maybe Dallas likes has more depth. It's a little iffy. He's been playing good in the starting lineup. I kind of hate moving him to the bench, but Hugh Grimes at the 3, don't hate it. Obviously, AD goes to his natural position at the 4. That's solid. We like that. And then you have Gafford at the 5. AD said he wanted a 5. Now he's got 2. Got Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. Obviously, Lively will take back once he gets back, but he's not going to be back for another month or so. So, I mean, on paper, solid lineup. This year, Gaff. Next year, Kyrie's going to be a year older. AD's going to be 32, going on 33. Clay's already aging. And you think that roster is going to do better by getting older? I mean, who knows? I guess only time will tell, as he said before, but I find that one shocking. You don't shop him around. Trade your franchise player. You get 1 first-round pick. You get Anthony Davis. I'll give you that. But LA definitely won that trade here. If I had to grade it, I would give LA an A-. You've got to go get a big now, though. I'm very... If LA doesn't get a big, I understand their championship odds went from 25 to 12 to 1. If you don't get a big, you are not beating OKC. You are not beating Boston. Heck, you won't even beat Cleveland. Go get a big. As an OKC, Boston, Cleveland, look out. As for Dallas, future-wise, I'm going to give this a C-. Overall, you still stay competitive in a very stacked-up West. You get yourself in a better defensive position to win this year, but you trade your franchise player away and you trade your future away. And you get 1 first-round pick out of it. Like, if they would have got, like, both the Lakers' first-round picks, maybe the Jazz, and I mean, Jazz, they literally got 2 picks out of this, and Jalen Hishifino, and they didn't have to give up anything. I mean, I guess they paid LA, like, $55,000 or something, but, like, you're telling me the Jazz just kind of can be involved, don't have to give up anything? Kudos to them, because if you could maybe finagle, the Jazz have a lot of first-round picks, by the way, too. They're entering a rebuild. They traded Donovan. They traded Gobert. We got about like 11, 12 of them things that we can give up. Obviously, we're not getting a player in return. We're not going to give you any of those up. But you're telling me we kind of finagled some picks out the Jazz. They kind of switched some things around. You get 1 first-round pick. So overall, I'd give the Jazz a B. They're just existing. They're happy to take on a young player, rebuilding, happy to get some draft capital. C- for the Mavericks. Competitive to win now. Future is concerning. I don't know how I feel about Anthony Davis, Kyrie 2 years from now. But, I mean, like Nico Harrison said, the future is only 4 years from now. He doesn't look at 10 years from now. Heck, him and J. Kidd may not even be there. So that's crazy something to say in a press conference, but I'm not Nico Harrison, so what do I know? The next the next domino that fell, essentially, in the league was De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is a San Antonio Spur. My initial reaction to this was, did San Antonio overpay? And because Fox came out and he all but requested a trade. He didn't say he wanted out of San Antonio, but he did say, hey, I want to go play with Wemby. There's a 7'3", 7'4" Frenchian. Is that what you say? Frenchian that I'm going to go hoop with. My contract's not up till 2026-27, but when it is up, that's where I'm going to go play. So it might be best to shop me around, see what you can get from me, because when my contract is up, I'm going to play with Victor. I mean, he basically pulled a Carmelo Anthony, telling the entire world he was going to New York. I see it, and if I'm San Antonio, I'm like, okay, maybe you wait on him. I heard about it, and I'm like, okay, is San Antonio going to pull the plug, They got CP3, he's been a great mentor for Wembanyama. You've got some great young guys. Keldon Johnson, I don't know if you say he's young anymore, but Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, Jeremy Sochan, how do you say his last name? I just know he always has crazy hair. Do you want to trade that? Well, damn it, if you don't have to trade any of them, do the trade. Because they traded 3 first-round picks. Let's pull the trade up. So, the full trade details is the Spurs trade De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. The Spurs get De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings get Zach LaVine. It's a 3-team deal, including the Bulls. The Kings get Zach LaVine, Siggy Sissoko, 3 first-round picks. We'll talk about those picks in a second. 1 comes from Charlotte, 1 comes from San Antonio, 1 comes from Minnesota, and 3 second-round picks, also the same. 1 comes except from Chicago and Denver, and then their own back. And then the Bulls, they get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own 2025 pick back. So you're telling me you trade De'Aaron Fox, and all you had to trade was Zach Collins, Trey Jones, not even Kevin Huerter, but Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and 3 picks that are mid. We're talking mid, not even good first-round picks. This Charlotte pick, that might look tempting. It's protected, and Charlotte is booty cheeks this year. Like, Charlotte's in the lottery. Charlotte's not going to do anything. That pick is going to convey, and guess what? It's not one of those picks that convey until unprotected next year, so okay, at least you get Charlotte's pick next year. Gets to 2 second-round picks. I mean, only time will tell, I guess. That's going to be my new saying, but only time will tell if we turn those 2 second-round picks into Draymond Green and Nikola Jokic. But that pick, they got him for 2 picks. That pick is non-existent at this point. 2027, San Antonio. Victor's still going to be on that team. Fox is most likely to sign an extension there. Fox is going to be on that team. I understand the West is competitive, but that's not going to be a lottery pick. Okay, you get a 2031 from Minnesota. That's cool. Ant might still be there. Ant probably still will be there. So one silver lining in this. Absolute W that San Antonio did not have to trade the Hawks first round pick this year. A first round pick later that could have equivalent to more. They didn't have to trade Jeremy Sochan. They didn't have to trade Keldon Johnson. They didn't have to trade Devin Vassell. And they got to keep their young guy in Stephon Castle. Absolutely A+ for the San Antonio Spurs. For the now, the future, you run De'Aaron. CP3 gets to back up another All-Star. And I guess that's just kind of been his memo now. He's played behind Steph. He's played behind... he's played with Harden. He's played with Booker. Like, CP3 just continues his legendary run of mentoring great young guards, and now he gets to still mentor Wemby, and he gets to help Fox out. You still kept Vassell. There's been some rumors that Castle's going to play the 3. If I'm San Antonio, I might ship Castle in a year or 2, because Castle, in my opinion, is naturally more a 1 or a 2. Not going to be able to play the 1 or a 2 in San Antonio. But at least you can try him at the 3, so that's cool. Absolute W for San Antonio. Are they going to be competitive enough to compete this year with the LA? Both LA teams are honestly, the Clippers are playing pretty good with Kawhi not playing as many games as he had. I don't think they're going to be competitive enough this year to win an OKC, to win, heck, even Denver. But look out for San Antonio for years to come. On my TikTok, on my first initial reaction to this, I liked it for the Kings. I said they probably got the best value out of it that they could have. I'm going to retract that statement, because I later learned that pick, the Charlotte pick, was protected. You get 2 first-round picks. You get Zach LaVine. I still like it for San Antonio, or for Sacramento. I just don't love it. You stay competitive in the very competitive nature West, but if De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis and DeMar DeRozan couldn't do it, how are we going to downgrade to Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan? Which, by the way, Chicago 2.0, we've already seen this. LaVine is playing some of his best basketball of his career. He's gonna... I don't know how Sacramento's gonna do this. Are they gonna run through Sabonis and then play through LaVine and play through DeRozan? Do you run through LaVine and then play through Sabonis and play through DeRozan? Or do you give the keys to DeMar DeRozan? I would think you give the keys to Domantas Sabonis, but as a big, you got two wings, essentially, to help you out. He doesn't have that point guard, and I'm sorry, Malik Monk is not that point guard. I'd give this C+, B-, leaning closer to a C+. They stay competitive, but similar to San Antonio, this year, currently, you're not going to compete with the Denver. You're not going to compete with LA. Either teams, in my opinion. You're not going to compete with OKC. And then we don't even need to talk about the East. If you can't compete with those teams out in the West, how are you going to compete with the teams out in the East? If you're Sacramento, you've got Zach LaVine. You've got good value for De'Aaron Fox, but Zach LaVine's contract is going to prohibit you from being able to sign anybody, although is anybody going to want to sign? You got some older heads. Zach LaVine, getting up there in age. DeMar DeRozan. I mean, they were great. They did it well in Chicago. Let's reunite them. But it's 2-3 years later. You're telling me that's gonna be better? I don't see it there. You get good value for De'Aaron Fox. He didn't want out, but he all but said he wanted to go play with Wemby. Get the most that you can out of it, but you can't get a young star. You can't get a Stephon Castle. You can't get a 20. You can't even get the Hawks first round pick. It's crazy. Like I said again, absolute W for the Spurs. Their GM, he doesn't ask, he just says, and you do, I guess. And then the Bulls. This is I'm gonna take a hot take here. I think the Bulls got good value. There's been some rumors that yes, you wanted to get more out of Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine has been playing good ball, but if we're being honest, you only can get so much out of a player who's making so much money. With Zach LaVine's contract, there's no shot you're gonna get 2 first-round picks. I'm just sorry. Nobody's going to give you 2 first-round picks for Zach LaVine's contract. It's just not how it's going to work. He's playing well, I get it, especially in the month of January, all-star type numbers. But he is not... I would not give 2 first-round picks in any franchise. I mean, going back to Luka, let's be honest. But I would not give 2 first-round picks for someone who's making upwards of 40 M's and aging. So the fact that you turned Zach LaVine into Zach Collins, not much. Okay, that's okay. Trey Jones, I like that. Kevin Huerter, he's going to take his player option. And a first-round pick, hell, be excited you got a first-round pick for Zach LaVine. That's one of the better trades you could have get. There was some rumors that Zach LaVine and Vucevic was going to go to Golden State. We both know that wasn't going to happen. That you would practically be swapping entire rosters. Contractually, the Warriors would have had to give up Draymond. They would have had to give up Wiggins. I don't see the Warriors parting with Draymond Green. Wiggins has actually been playing a lot better, especially considering Steph is having a down year. I don't see them going away from Wiggins. And then outside of that, you can't contractually make that work. So, if I'm a Bulls fan, I don't hate the return. Yes, you wanted to get more from Zach LaVine. As a Bulls fan, I'd give this a B- maybe. You want to get more from Zach LaVine. We both knew Zach LaVine wanted to go to a more competitive nature team. Yes, you can say maybe you could have sent him to a more competitive nature team. You want to tell me the Warriors would have been a more competitive team? The Warriors are not doing as well as Sacramento, I would argue. I think this is, I mean, yes, you get to go play with Steph Curry. Fit-wise, maybe it's better than playing with DeMar again, but when you have a large contract such as Zach LaVine, there's only so much you can do with that. So, don't, recap, Spurs, dub, A++. Give them an S ranked tier. That's amazing. Kings, hindsight, looked okay. Looking back at it, I'd say C+. Bulls, you got Trey Jones in a first round pick for Zach LaVine. I know on paper that doesn't sound great. Contractually, the best he was going to get for Zach LaVine. I'll say B-. This trade deadline has been crazy, though. We went from a trade deadline that nothing essentially was happening. We was wondering if it was going to be a good trade deadline. All we've heard is Jimmy Butler rumors, and then we heard shopping around of De'Aaron Fox. But this trade deadline went from Jimmy Butler getting suspended 2 times to Luka Doncic getting traded, De'Aaron Fox getting traded, and guess what? Jimmy Butler is technically still unemployed by the Miami Heat. How does that? How does tell? If you would have told me Luka Doncic got traded out of nowhere, De'Aaron Fox got traded before Jimmy Butler a week ago, I would have said you are smoking crack. But I mean, here we are. Some reports came out today that said, or late last night, that said Jimmy Butler was not willing to sign an extension with Golden State, so they backed out of trading for him, backed out kind of those. Maybe they go back into it, depending on, let's go. Butler's not returning to Miami, let's be honest. He's suspended indefinitely, which is supposed to be until after the trade deadline. If you're Pat Riley, you're in Miami, there's no way you don't trade Jimmy Butler. I mean, just look at Kevin Love's Instagram. That should let you know all of it. But you trade. There's no shot you don't trade Jimmy Butler. This is Tyler Herro's team. It's time for them to get something. If Miami, you're just wanting to get the best value out of it right now. However, if you're any other team, Jimmy Butler's in diva mode. Why would you trade for Jimmy Butler? Who's gonna? I mean, he said send me anywhere but Memphis. If I'm Pat Riley, I send him to Memphis. I'm going to give you that one destination you don't want. But then if I'm Memphis, what am I giving up? He doesn't want to be here. Why would I give up anything? Although if you give up Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, 2 first-round picks, I mean, I would do that. Okay, maybe not 2, but 1. But I mean, if you're another team and you already can see what Jimmy Butler's done with this franchise, why would you trade him? Why would you trade for him, moreover? I don't know. I think ultimately he's going to end up where we all think he is going to, and that's going to be Phoenix. I don't think Bradley Beal comes to Miami. But now that the Kings offloaded, well, not really offloaded, but they swapped essentially De'Aaron Fox for Zach LaVine. There was some rumor maybe you send Beal to Sacramento. Can't do that anymore. I don't think Beal's going to waive his no-trade clause for Miami. There's got to be a third team involved, but I don't know what team, similarly to Zach LaVine, is going to want to take a $50 million contract from Bradley Beal. So, I mean, if you're Phoenix, you talk one-on-one. I mean, Beal's already been coming off the bench. You talk one-on-one with him. You essentially ask him how we can get this done, but on the other side, if you're also Phoenix, I don't think that an aging Jimmy Butler, an older Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker is going to get you over the hump. Don't get me wrong, that's a damn near good top 3, but I wouldn't say it's competitive enough to get past OKC, Cleveland, Boston, heck, Denver. Denver's scary when they're in the playoffs, y'all. Denver's scary. I guess I'll just be bamboozled by the next thing that happens, and that is going to be what happens with Jimmy Butler. If I had to guess, he's going to Phoenix. As for how that package is going to look, James Jones, you've got some work to do. I do not know how that is going to look, but you got to make it happen one way or the other. But is that going to be a long-term commitment? I don't know. I can understand where Phoenix is coming from. They don't want to do that. It's just kind of a iffy situation altogether, but obviously he's not going to go back to Miami. If he does go back to Miami, he's just going to be suspended the rest of the year. They're not going to play that out. He's not going to get his money. That's going to be the worst breakup ever. Worst, I mean, not as bad as Luka and the Mavericks, but I don't know. That's the NBA trade deadline news and whatnot for now. It's crazy. Like I said, this last week I woke up and Luka Doncic was a Dallas Maverick. De'Aaron Fox was a De'Aaron Fox was a Sacramento King. Today I wake up and Luka Doncic is an LA Laker. Anthony Davis is a Dallas Maverick. Zach LaVine's on the Kings. De'Aaron Fox. It makes you. I saw this thing by Bleacher Report today. Who are the actual untouchables? You would have thought Luka was an untouchable, right? Obviously, that didn't happen. Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander untouchable? There were some rumors about him last year with trading, but now OKC's competitive. They got 17 first-round picks. I would think SGA's untouchable. Jason Tatum, I would think he's untouchable. I mean, there was some reports of who do you want to choose, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. They decided to keep them both. They added a championship competitive roster. You bring Porzingis in somehow. Jalen Brunson. It truly makes me wonder who in this league is untouchable, because every time we think, oh, no crazy trade's going to happen, Kevin Durant gets traded in a trade deadline. Luka Doncic gets traded in a trade deadline. It's absolutely crazy. But that's the NBA trade deadline news for this week. As of next week, we could see Jimmy Butler in a new uniform. Heck, we could see some other things. And shifting gears though into the NFL world and aspect of things. After all, it should be in theory the NFL's week right now, as we have the Super Bowl upcoming between the Kansas City Chiefs trying to three-peat and the Philadelphia Eagles. We had the Pro Bowl last week. It's rather entertaining, if we're being quite frank. And then I woke up to some breaking news this morning. As mentioned before, Myles Garrett has requested a trade outside of Cleveland. So, let's talk about it. Pro Bowl. Roger Goodell, I'm speaking to you right now. What are we doing? Because it's not working. I understand. Let me start by saying I understand the Pro Bowl is not going to be the competitive nature that it used to be. I understand there's risks of players getting injured and all that. I get that. I'm here for the players. I understand that. As a fan, I'm disappointed, though. I am very upset in the production that is put out on a year-to-year basis. We gotta be a little bit more creative, potentially. We gotta be more competitive, absolutely. And the Pro Bowl is supposed to be similar to an All-Star, similar to an honor, right? And tell me why the heck Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson, okay, I'm sorry, shouldn't have done that, but Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson gets into the Pro Bowl. He was all but unlimited. Okay, I'll stop. But that's just, and then Drake May, ooh, god damn it, didn't start the season. Drake May is your quarterback, third string quarterback, I guess, however you want to look at it. Apologize quickly for the lighting. We'll have better lighting next episode, but I'll have to deal with it for this one. Drake May, though. I mean, J.J. Watt said it best. At this point, it's just a participation bowl. Like, if we're giving Mr. Unlimited and Drake May Pro Bowl nods, it's a participation bowl. Like, Baker deserved it. I'll give him that, absolutely. But what are we doing? That's worse. Okay, it's not worse, but it's almost as bad as when we put Tyler Huntley out in the Pro Bowl when, like, what was that, 2-3 years ago? Like, what are we doing? The creativity of the Pro Bowl is there. I like it, but it's trash. I like the idea of a skills showdown. I like the idea of a wide receiver, a defense back, and a tight end. The thought was there. The execution was god awful, horrible. I understand. It's like I said, it's not that competitive nature. It's not fun, or it should be fun. But it's like, to what extent are we gonna just go around and throw some balls around? Pause. And be competitive and see the best players at their position compete. Like, I think and Stingley's a dog. I'm not trying to diss on Stingley. Derek Stingley, Houston Texans corner, absolute dog. Homeboy couldn't catch a cold. Like I could probably go and catch a football with those mascot hands. Okay, probably not, but like he sat there and laughing the entire time. I got more enjoyment of watching him laugh and fail than I did the entire Pro Bowl, honestly, probably. It was cool to see him have fun. It was cool to see what he was doing. But he did not care about the time. He did not care about the competitive nature of AFC versus NFC. And quite frankly, he cost his team. Not that I'm trying to get it to be competitive, but as a viewer, I want it to be semi-competitive. I want to see the best players on the best field for a reason. I don't want to see them freaking half-assing something I could go do by myself. That's the way I'll put it. And I don't know, the NBA has the in-season tournament, which they have an incentive and a point differential, so it's you're motivated to play your stars until the very last second. Maybe you do something incentive-wise for the Pro Bowl. That can bring back its competitive nature. I get it. I know we can't be competitive because of injury risk, but golly, can we have a little bit of more competitiveness than what we have? Like, the Pro Bowl, I honestly don't know if I'm gonna be tuning in next year. Like, that's how bad it was. And then you're trying to tell me that I am supposed to enjoy the Pro Bowl while I'm sitting and watching Terry Crews host a game show. Yes. Like, what are we doing? Terry Crews is hosting a game show. That's game show. But a game show where we're asking people who knows each other better. Brother, that's what we're doing for Pro Bowl entertainment? A game show hosted by Terry Crews. Who knows their teammate better? It is wild to me. The flag football is fun. I'll give them that. It gives a little bit of competitive nature into there, but like 73, what was it score? 73 to 64. Like, nobody tried. They was just throwing the ball up and whatever happened. I used to, back when I was like 12, 13 years old, so like 13 years ago, the Pro Bowl was entertaining. I enjoyed, there was just something about seeing all the different teams, all the different players show the world why they are there to represent their team. I loved it when they had the game of everybody was in their own jersey. I thought that was just so, the cinema behind that, I just loved that. I get it. I know we're not going back to that. But holy cow, the Pro Bowl was terrible. And if we're talking about ratings, it's NFL, it's the Pro Bowl, it's Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, they made it on a Thursday. We had a Thursday afternoon, evening skills showdown. Like, I mean, I can't blame them because I tuned in, so I see what the NFL is doing, but like, they know that nobody else is going to do anything. on a Thursday and a Sunday because they're used to that football being there on a Thursday and a Sunday. So they're going to push out as much football as they can. But push out entertaining content, please. I don't know. I was, as you can tell, very, very disappointed in the Pro Bowl this year. And I wish the NFL, Roger Goodell specifically, would do something to make it more competitive, more entertaining. And I think the best way to do that is incentivize it. I hate to do that, but it brings more competitive nature, or have higher stakes. I loved when baseball had the All-Star game. The winner of that had home field advantage. Obviously, you can't really do that with the Super Bowl. Home field advantage is played at a mutual field. Do something to where the winner of that gets to choose. I don't know, something. They get to automatically win the coin flip. Make it worth something. Not just Mr. Unlimited out there and Drake May out there doing what they did. I mean, Drake May was so bad, he got taken out of the Pro Bowl. Like, usually you have your guys do some reps, put the next guy in, have him do some reps, but put the next guy in. Heck, Drake May was so bad that Mr. Unlimited came back in. Like, it just makes no sense to me. But, I mean, ratings will always, I guess, be there, but I would hope the NFL would work on making the Pro Bowl more competitive, or give a Pro Bowl nod to all the deserved players, the Lamar Jacksons, the Jaden Daniels, the Jared Goffs of the world, just naming quarterbacks, don't come at me, and then have it be colleges, high school, something that's going to be a competitive game, that's going to be fun, that you still get your Pro Bowl nod, you still get your selection, you still get your Ring of Honor, essentially, but give the fans something fun to watch. If I wanted to go catch a football with mascot hands, I'd go to Walmart, I'd go to Target. Like what are we doing? Like come on now. So, Pro Bowl, -2 out of 10. I was very disappointed as a fan, as a viewer. I don't understand what the NFL is doing with the Pro Bowl, but, it's probably going to get worse next year. So, Participation Bowl, I think we should rename it until it gets worse. But it's enough about the Pro Bowl, because, like I said, very disappointed with the Pro Bowl. I could sit here and moan about it all day, but I'm not going to. Let's get into some actual breaking news from the NFL. Myles Garrett, defensive end, right end specifically from the Cleveland Browns, has requested a trade. I don't know if this is a contract negotiation move. He has 2 years left of his 5-year, $125 million extension deal. He came out and said he wants to go to a competitor. He wants to compete. If I'm Myles Garrett, I absolutely see requesting I get behind requesting a trade. Cleveland, their quarterback situation, I couldn't even tell you their quarterback situation. Deshaun is going to be out. Most likely he tore his Achilles again. Do you draft a quarterback? I don't know if I would like the likes of Shador. I don't know if I would like the likes of Cam Ward. I think this is a particular weak quarterback draft. Tank for Arch Manning next year, maybe. But then if you do that, yes, you're tanking again. You're tanking again. I can't tell those quotation marks. Tanking again. Can't obviously tank, but like tank. And yeah, for Myles Garrett, you don't want to be on a losing team again. I get that. So if I'm Myles Garrett, I got two teams in mind. Ultimately, I guess it comes up to Matthew Berry, the GM, or Andrew Berry, pardon me, the GM of the Browns. If I'm Myles Garrett, though, I go to Andrew Berry and I say, trade me to one of these two teams. If you trade me to either of these two teams, I'm happy. Number one is Detroit Lions. Whew. Myles Garrett in a Detroit uniform would look sexy, for one. And then for two, Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson rushing the quarterback. That quarterback is going to be living in hell. Like, that would be nasty. The Lions have the cap space to do it. Dan Campbell would love a guy like Myles Garrett on his team. He just lost Aaron Glenn to the New York Giants as the new head coach. He just lost Ben Johnson, his offensive coordinator, to the Chicago Bears as their new head coach. Let's come in and let's establish that defense. That defense is what didn't allow you to surpass Washington in the divisional. You played a very poor defensive game, and Washington ran all over you. You let a rookie-led quarterback, Jaden Daniels, run all over you. So, get a defensive identity. You know your offense is going to be there. You know you got Jared Goff. You know you got Jahmyr Gibbs, who, if you thought he was good this year, just wait till Jahmyr Gibbs comes back next year. Amon-Ra is amazing. J-Mo's going to come back. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. The offense is there. You work on the defense. By Myles Garrett, I say I want to go to Detroit. However, if you want your bag, you want to chase the money, and you are okay with being semi-competitive but going to a complete team that's got great coaching, and you're familiar with the coach, and 2 years from now can be a competitive roster, you go tell Barry, I want to go to New England. I want to go play with Mike Vrabel. Vrabel is going to do a fantastic job in New England. He's already coached Myles Garrett in this past year. Garrett knows what he likes, knows the culture he's going to provide. He can go get a bag. New England's got 125 M's of cap space. And I don't think they're going to be competitive next year, but you got your quarterback of the future in Drake May. You got 125 mil to spend in free agency. You can go bring in some names. You can get Drake May to have a decent year, build him up, build his confidence up, build that culture, and then 2-3 years from now, New England might be back. They should be good to make a I'm not going to say a Super Bowl run, but they should be a playoff contender. They should give the Bills a run for their money. So if I'm Myles Garrett, I'm thinking, hey, Andrew Berry, Detroit, New England. However, if I am Andrew Berry and I am the GM of the Cleveland Browns, you trade him for the most value capital that you can get. You do not trade him for another defensive player or an equivalent player unless you get a star-studded young player. But I don't think anybody's going to get rid of their star-studded young player for an aging Myles Garrett. Yes, he's still good, but that's like trading your franchise player who's 25 to for an aging 32-year-old. Oh, right. Yeah, Nico Harrison did that. Almost forgot. But it's just unless you're Nico Harrison, it's something you don't do. Okay. So you trade. If you're Andrew Berry, you shop him around. He's already requested a trade. So on the bright side, teams are going to be calling you. You don't have to go call teams. It's okay to be shopping him around. But if you're Andrew Berry, you take the deal that gives you the most draft capital. In other words, 2 first-round picks. You set the bar for nothing less than 2 first-round picks. If you do not get 2 first-round picks out of him, you do not trade him. You still have him under contract for 2 years. He still is a dog at the end of the day. He still is going to be that Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Ultimately, he's either going to get his money, you're going to get your value, or you're going to trade him. One of the 3 things is going to happen. I don't know if that's a crazy take, but you get my point. But if you're Andrew Berry, you want to make sure you get enough value in capital out of him. You don't go trade him for, hypothetically, I'm not saying this as a trade offer, but you don't go trade him for a Grady Jarrett and a fourth round pick. No, like Grady Jarrett's obviously older. You don't want to do that. You want to go give me 2 first round picks and give me a corner. Give me 2 first round. Give me some capital. Give me a young player, and then maybe you're just off dumping his salary to the next team essentially. Though you're not going to trade him straight up 1 by 1 or for an equivalent player. Unless it's TJ Watt. If Pittsburgh Steelers calls your phone and says, hey, we'll swap you Myles Garrett for TJ Watt, you do it. Pittsburgh wouldn't do that unless Nico Harrison took over as the GM, but Pittsburgh wouldn't do that. But that's I get it. If I'm Myles Garrett, I can see why you want to go out of Cleveland. They haven't had a winning record in a minute. They had one a couple of years ago, but their QB play is inconsistent as crap. Nick Chubb is a dog, but he's aging. Jerry Jeudy actually popped off. He's 25. He had a good year. I like what Jeudy has coming. Their defense is actually solid. I love Cleveland's defense. Greg Rousseau, JRO, you got Denzel Ward. Not Greg Rousseau, sorry. What's his face? The other corner. But if you look at the defense, it's amazing there, but they never continuously can get over the hump. And you're playing in a division that has Baltimore, that has Pittsburgh, which somehow Mike Tomlin has a winning record every year. He might not go all the way, but he has a winning record every year. And then you have Cincinnati. That I'm pretty sure if we go back on it, that division, because Baltimore made the playoffs, winning record. Pittsburgh made the playoff, winning record. Cincinnati didn't make the playoffs, but had a winning record, 9-8. It's a very competitive division. You have to beat one of those 3 teams. Are you going to beat a Joe Burrow? Are you going to go beat a Mike Tomlin? And are you going to beat Lamar Jackson? And you play him 2 times a year. That's tough. So if I'm Myles Garrett, I get it. It's not working out. You go find somewhere that is working out. If I'm Barry, though, I don't, since he requested a trade to you, and since it's not something coming out of nowhere, since it's not you trading your franchise player without letting anybody know, you can shop him around and you can get the best value that's going to benefit you. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I will definitely keep you guys posted, give you my initial reactions when he does get traded, if he does get moved. But if I'm Myles Garrett, Detroit or New England. If I'm Barry, get the most value, get the most capital. And finally, the Super Bowl. We got the Kansas City Chiefs going for a 3-peat, and we have the Philadelphia Eagles trying to get their revenge from a rematch from, what was it, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. My brain's not braining right now. There's a lot on the line, but ultimately the NFL wins regardless. If the Chiefs win, the Chiefs get a 3-peat. Patrick Mahomes cements himself as arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. If not, he's right behind Tom Brady. Travis Kelce cements himself as one of the greatest tight ends of all time, up there with Rob Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez, Shannon Sharp, etc. The Chiefs cement themselves as the dynasty, not just a dynasty, the dynasty. Andy Reid cements himself as one of, if not the greatest coach of all time. Top 2, probably 2, but top 2. And Pat Riley is just sitting there getting his money because he gets his 5% of any clothing brand that comes in with 3-peat on it. So good on Pat Riley for that. But if the Chiefs win, Brady, you get your 3-peat, you get your media, you get your ad revenue out that way. Absolute dub for the Chiefs and for the NFL. If the Eagles win, they stop the 3-peat. They got their revenge on the team that beat them in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And Saquon Barkley finally got his ring that he he deserves, honestly. He's been damn near the best running back in all of football and has had the best season since Derrick Henry put up 2,000 yards a couple of years ago. So ultimately, the NFL is going to win regardless. You have the Chiefs three-peating, or you get Saquon Barkley his ring. Jalen Hurts quiets the doubters, and Nick Sirianni also quiets the doubters. It's kind of a lose-lose situation if you're a typical football fan like myself. There's always kind of the situation that they say, like, I hope or I wish both teams could lose. I'm not going to take it to that extreme. I hope the Chiefs do lose. I will be rooting for the Eagles in this case. But Nick Sirianni, he has and will continue to be on the hot seat. As long as he's in Philadelphia, he will be on the hot seat. Jalen Hurts is severely underappreciated. I'm not going to say overrated or underrated. I'm going to say underappreciated because of his value. He led Bama, and then he got replaced by Tua, and then he got benched by Tua, and then he leads that, and he comes to Oklahoma, and he becomes a Heisman finalist. All Jalen Hurts has done is prove doubters wrong. He came to the NFL. Granted, I understand it. I know that Jalen Hurts is in a very good position. The Eagles' offense is damn near perfect for him. But you can't tell me it's also not because of his success, his mentality, and his choices on the field was why he's such a good quarterback. You put Baker Mayfield in the Eagles system, like, it's great. Heck, you put Sam Darnold in there, I could see him excel. It's kind of a good system, but Jalen Hurts has led and continuously, in my opinion, proven doubters that he's that guy. Granted, it makes it easier because of the system that he's in, but he proved it in Alabama. Granted, I understand he got benched for Tua. Nick Saban was on. I mean, I can't blame Nick Saban. But he goes to Oklahoma, and okay, sorry, just had to make sure there's no breaking news. It's just Roger Goodell talking about the Chiefs, who surprisingly is officiating a Chiefs. Shocking. But Jalen Hurts, I think, is underappreciated, is basically what I'm trying to say. I understand he's put in a good system. You put a quarterback in any system, they are going to do okay. But Jalen Hurts has continuously proved doubters wrong. He's also been playing on a sore ankle. He had a concussion a couple weeks ago, and he's still been balling out. Now, I will say, the tush push, a little overrated. Hurts could probably stop doing that, give the ball to Saquon a couple more times. But outside of that, I don't know. This game is going to be exciting. I'm very excited for this game. I know a lot of America wanted the Bills and wanted the Commies in this game. That would have been a much more entertaining Super Bowl, I agree. But we've had two Super Bowls already, let's be honest. The Bills and the Ravens, the Bills and the Chiefs. Heck, we could even argue the Commies and the Lions, excluding the fourth quarter. Like, we've had competitive, good games in these championship series, Super Bowl-like games in this era already. This is still going to be a very competitive game. I mean, look at when these two teams met a couple years ago. It was a one-score game. If James Bradbury wasn't holding, which, god damn it, everybody's holding on every player. Are we really going to call that? But that's just me. But it was a very exciting, competitive game. I expect it to be exactly the same this year. And I have the Eagles over the Chiefs because the Eagles have a more complete team. They have the better running back in Saquon Barkley, obviously. Patrick Mahomes is a more complete quarterback. Andy Reid's a more complete coach, obviously. And then you have Travis Kelce as the more complete player. Wide receivers for Kansas City look a lot better. They're actually going to the Super Bowl with the best set of wideouts they've had in the 3-year run. You have DeAndre Hopkins, who's severely underrated. Got some of the best hands, something I can't say, but he's got some of the best hands out there still at his age. He knows how to catch balls. He's really good at it. Pause. He might be up there in age, but he still can get it done when he needs to get it done. And then you got Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown. He's going to be a speed demon. And you got Xavier Worthy, another speed demon. Like, you got your best wide receiver core going into it. It's just on the other side of things, you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, damn near good, just as good wide receiver, if not better wide receiver core. This game is going to be as competitive as it can be. It's going to be entertaining in the aspect that we have a good offense going up against a great offense. And then Steve, the defensive coordinator over in Kansas City, Steve Spagnuolo, why couldn't he have a defense like that when he was the DC for the Saints? Or the coach for the Saints. Like, that's what I'm wondering. Like, the year he came in for Bounty Gate, brother gave up like 30 points a game, and then he comes over to Kansas City and he dials up these hot blitz, and then he can come at Josh Allen with a corner blitz and win the game. I get it, timing obviously, but he's a very good defensive-minded coordinator. But Vic Fangio is on the defensive side in Philadelphia. He's got big play Slate, which I understand he got torched last time they was in this position. But you got Nakobe Dean, you got Zach Bond, who's been a dog this year. Like, you got Jalen Carter, dog. You got Jordan Davis. That D line is amazing. You got Cooper DeJean. Like, Philadelphia they're playing in such a good rhythm. They're playing as a team, and they have all the winning pieces from top to bottom to win this game. It is still going to be a competitive natured game. Kansas City definitely is going to give them a run for their money, as this will be for the three-peat. I think at the end of the day, Philadelphia is going to save a lot of fans of the NFL, but also disappoint a significant amount of NFL fans because, it's Philly. So, final prediction, 31-27. I have Kansas City 27, Philadelphia 31. No overtime for this game, just 4 quarters, and Saquon Barkley is coming out with that Super Bowl MVP. But, yeah, I mean, that's what I got for the NFL point of things. Like I said, we got to fix that Pro Bowl. That Pro Bowl needs to be incentivized. It needs to have something to bring us more entertainment. I, as a fan, am asking for more entertainment. Myles Garrett, I hear you, brother. If I were in your shoes, so crazy statement to say, but if I was in your shoes, I would definitely want out to look out for New England, look out for Detroit, but if I'm Barry, get the Bulls capital out of him. And then 31-27, Eagles over the Chiefs. Come at me all you want. I don't want to see a Chiefs three-peat. I don't want to have to deal with all that for the next 2, 3, 4 months. So I'm hoping the Eagles can dethrone the Chiefs of this three-peat. As cool as a three-peat would be, I don't want to see that three-peat happen. But those are my NFL takes for this week. Until next week. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to Hands Down the podcast, where again, like I said, the hands might be off, but the microphone is certainly on. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 1. I look forward to being back next week for episode 2, potentially talking about Jimmy Butler, if he's actually been traded, Super Bowl recap, who won MVP, I guess we'll have to wait and see in episode 2. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, complaints, reports, files, please be sure to leave those in the comments. If you guys have any topics, sports topics you would like me to address, or any hot takes, whatever it might be, leave those in the comment sections as well, and I will be sure to check them out. Please leave me a like, a follow, and a subscribe. And until then, I will see you guys next week for episode 2.